Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Brett Thurber, and I am from the New Wheel Bike Shop in San Francisco. And I am joined today by Garen Becker and
Hello.
Nadine Stein. Garen, will you introduce yourself to start?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Garen Becker. I'm coming to you from the great Northwest here in Washington State, and I am part of the North American marketing team for Orbea.
And
Um,
Nadine,
she's on mute though.
let me try to get you off mute. Ask to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Nadine. I am the National Sales Manager for Orbea USA, which means I get to work with our esteemed reps that travel and see all the shops and help Brett answer all the questions he needs to answer. And I get to work alongside Garen.
Thank you both for joining. Um, I'm learning Zoom a little bit, so we're going to do this a little funny. I would love to have Nadine and Garen on the screen with me with the slideshow, but I'm going to do the slideshow and then I'm going to break back out so that we can see all of us and talk about what we're seeing. But today we're here to present the brand new Orbea Muga. Um, so without further ado, I'm going to share my slideshow here. Um,
Perfect. And I'll let you. I'll just say, hey, next slide when you're ready.
Yeah, perfect.
And
So
yeah,
we're gonna talk about the Muga, and I've got Garen here and Nadine to help give us the context, not just about the bike. Hopefully, we can talk about the bike for sure. And there's so much to talk about on this bike. It's one of the most exciting bikes of the year. But also, I think to really understand the bike, you need to understand more about Orbea, the company. And we've touched a little bit about Orbea previously when we did the video on the Orbea Denna, which is the gravel, super lightweight gravel bike that Orbea released earlier. But I think there's more to talk about, and so we hopefully can get into that as well. So
perfect. And do you want questions to come in line from our guests, or do you want to just talk at the end?
yeah, I mean, feel free to the chat is open or should be open. So I'll keep an eye on that, and so feel free to put questions in there, and then we can open it up for questions at the end as well.
Perfect. All right. So yeah, I'll lead, and of course, anyone just jump in when you need, Brett and Nadine. But yeah, thanks again for coming. Pretty cool I love these webinars. I'm a big fan. The Muga, probably one of the only urban bikes that I've ever been truly, really, really excited about. It's a very interesting concept. When Orbea showed this to us back in, I guess it would have been January this year. Um, I was like, what is this thing? But since then, and after riding a lot more of this urban sector, and especially the Muga, I don't think it's one that I would probably pick over any other. So the Muga is the full suspension, urban, do it all, come what may bike. It's e-bike. It has cargo capacity. It has the ability to carry what you need with you, but it also has the ability um, to take whatever route you choose because it's got some front and rear suspension that takes the edge off of any sort of more rugged terrain. Let's move through the next slide there, Brett.
Yeah, and you'll have to excuse me. I'm gonna be switching between the the view here and us and video of us talking.
That's fine. So this is basically a contents page, what the bike's all about. So go anywhere handling. That's what I meant by this sort of come what may bike. Go anywhere assistance. We'll go through the power that the bike has and why we chose that. Smart by design. So the features and benefits of the Muga and what it's offered with. And a bit about the safety. And in the end, we'll circle back with what build kits are available and what the differences between them are, and also what colors. So let's just keep moving. Next slide. We've got go anywhere handling. Here's our kind of title page by what we mean by that. So the obvious bit about the go anywhere handling is that there's 115 millimeters of rear suspension travel and 120 millimeters front. So that's unique to Orbea, to the Muga, as far as any town urban sector bike we've ever created. There's a few other bikes on the market that are offering this, but this is a really unique thing because it's it's kind of a mix between an all-around trail bike and an all-around urban bike. So if you live in a town like me where there's of course pavement, but there's interspersed bike paths and trails and fire roads and railroad tracks and everything else you might encounter on your way across town. If you know where they are, a bike like this really opens up a lot of different ways to get through your city. I'm a big fan of not riding with cars when I can, and a bike like this makes it so you can pick those more obscure tracks and trails and just connect them all, and you can get where you want to go without dealing with people, vehicles.
I'll just add one
Go
thing,
ahead.
Garen. It's so I personally own two full suspension bikes. Our cargo bike is a full suspension bike, and my independent rider is a full suspension bike. And I'm such a believer in full suspension for urban riding. Um, like there's the most obvious thing is how comfortable it is from an urban perspective. On trails, it's like handling and control, but the comfort side of it is huge. And then the second thing is safety. When you're bouncing around on the street, you just keep your tires on the road at all times. The bike is connected to the road regardless of what you're going over. So comfort and safety from an urban perspective is so important.
I agree. People would say, I remember back when, when e-bikes first became a thing for mountain biking, there was bikes that, people would bring out, people would kind of go smaller and go lighter. And we would always go, the epiphany that everyone had was that there's so much speed available with an e-bike that the more suspension, the more control. So you can, if you're with these bikes that go 28 miles per hour on the road, you can get flying pretty quickly. And if you can keep your tires on the ground, you're gonna retain better control. And I mean, I've been pretty surprised at how rough an impact can be, or how abrupt like a little curb lip or something can be at 28 miles per hour when you're just sitting on your bike. And the bike like this, it kind of wipes all that away, which I really like. But let's hit the next slide. And I think in addition to the suspension, there's a couple key bits here that really make the Muga. That this is what really got me excited about riding it. And one of the things is the mullet setup. In the mountain bike world, we call this a mullet 29-inch front wheel and a smaller 27.5-inch wheel in the back. Its benefits are pretty widespread for like higher aggressive mountain bike use. But one thing I didn't really consider on a bike like this is that if you want stability and a nimble feeling bike, the formula is pretty straightforward to get it with a bike like the Muga. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. So when you have, we've got active geometry. This is kind of a title slide for the next kind of more in-depth feature about geo. But if you look at some numbers here, like, so Muga is not a one-size-fits-all bike. It's 4 sizes to make sure you are getting the right size bike for you, and make sure that every rider has the same experience on the bike across the size range, right? So like some of these one-size bikes are great for maybe a lower cost or maybe a bit different use case. But with a bike like this, you want to make sure it fits you, and we want to make sure that everyone, whether they're very small 5'4" or a very large 6'3", can have the same consistent experience on the bike throughout the size range. The thing though here is, like,
Quick
as a
question.
mountain biker, I insisted on putting this slide in because these are things that if you're a mountain biker, you kind of pore over. These are the things you look at before you make a purchase. I'd say namely head tube angle. So head tube angle down here, that's column number 8, 66.5 degrees. That's a pretty modern mountain bike number for like an all-around trail bike, especially like a short travel 29-inch wheel trail bike that you would ride on some pretty aggressive trails. That's a pretty normal head tube angle. Seat tube angle is 76 across the board. What that seat tube angle does is make it so you're instead of a very slack seat tube angle will put your rider weight over the very back wheel, and you would have less control because your weight would be biased towards the rear. You wouldn't have that traction on the front. The steep seat tube angle makes you upright and over the bikes. This in between the wheels position is what we're going for here. And I think the biggest geometry thing that I was kind of blown away by, like I rode this bike first before I looked at the geometry chart, and I was like, what is up with that bike? It is so long. It's the chainstay. The chainstay is a measurement from the center of the bottom bracket to the center of the rear axle. And 466.5, if you see number 5 here, that's very, very lengthy. What you're getting there is a super stable bike. It gives you this in between the wheels feel that like it would be very difficult to go over the handlebars on this bike, and it really holds its lines nicely, and it really makes for a very confident, I guess, ride is what I'd say. Like way more confident than any urban e-bike I've ever ridden.
Garen, question on sizing. What do you have a sense of what the what the size range is?
As far as like
Like
human
like
size,
height? Yeah, like roundabout. What would be the sort of smallest?
I can find that right now. I don't have it on the top of my head, but we have a tool for that on the website here, and I'm pulling it up now.
We will talk about demo because we do have we'll talk about this, but we do have mediums in stock, and we've test ridden the medium. My wife, Karen, is 5 feet tall, and she can ride the medium. And as far as a demo goes, so the standover is actually really good from what I can see. So I think the small would be definitely should fit someone 5 feet tall.
Bicycle size guide. So yeah, we are. Let's switch over to inches. Here we go. Centimeters, inches. 60.2 inches. That's 5 feet on the very smallest end. 81.1 inches. Let me do my quick math here, but 81 inches. 81 divided by 12. 6'7" is what they're saying, like 6 3/4 of a foot, which is, I think, pretty lengthy for this bike. But as we'll get to in a minute, there's some tech on the bike that makes it so you can really adjust the end of the bike, whatever size you get to fit you even better. But I think the big takeaway here when anyone rides this bike is how long it is and how stable that makes you feel. We can move to the next slide if you're ready. The next slide is about this cockpit. So what I didn't put in here is a graphic on just what this is. This patented adjustable cockpit is available on Muga, on Kemen, and some DM. And what this is like, it's a modular Orbea specific setup that incorporates your stem, your handlebar, your phone mount, and your light all in one. So this bike is going to ship with integrated lighting. As you can see, that's this little white band under the black stem, but above the frame. That is a light. You can see here, I don't have, yeah, you're circling. Thank you.
Yep.
Now, if you made that circle even smaller, you would see that there's sort of an extender in place here. And yes, that thing can come out, which would mean your handlebars would be closer to you if you choose. If you're really tall, you'd want that further out. The clamp on the end of it can also be flipped to make your handlebars lower or higher. So you can have a long and low, a long and high, a short and low, and a short and high setup, which makes it pretty modular. Of course, there's a phone mount and stuff on there as well.
The other cool thing, there is a swept back bar option. And this handlebar, what you'll see is the light is actually integrated into the handlebar. It's made by Supernova, but it's super slick and it looks small, like it's not gonna give you all that much light. But since it is a Supernova light, the looks are deceiving. Like it is extremely powerful, and it has a high beam as well. So it's not just a single it's not a single beam pattern. You have a high beam and low beam. Uh,
Yeah. So what we're not seeing here is that on the front of the bar, there's that integrated supernova light. But then this one, this band that we see above the frame, below the stem, that's like a 270-degree visibility light. So anyone from any angle where, depending, no matter where your handlebars are pointing, is going to see that bike there. And then in addition to that, it's got the spotlight at the front. Of course, there's a rear light as well. Yeah, so we're on to assistance. So back in January, we didn't know this bike was coming to the States. We kind of like, Orbea had made it, they presented it to us, and we all loved it. But the motor that was on it was set for Europe, and in Europe, they're unlucky in the sense that they're relegated to 20 miles per hour, and we get to go 28. So, but because we can go 28, our move here in this country was like, well, that bike's awesome, but if we can't get it in 28, no one's going to buy it because there's a lot of 28 mile per hour e-bikes out there, and we knew, especially with the full suspension, like this, unless it's 28, it's not something that's going to move in great numbers here in this country. And so we took that back to the product team, and they said, all right, good point. So next slide, we've got the new Bosch Performance Speed motor. So this is the same drive unit in physicality as the sort of renowned, the BDU 38, Bosch Drive Unit 38. That's the latest, greatest mountain bike performance CX line drive unit that they have. But this one is tuned for urban use. So it's 90 Newton meters of torque out of the box. You can upgrade that even further if you like with Bosch's firmware updates. And it's very tried and true. It's got metal gears in it, and it's very durable, and it's very versatile, and it allows the bike to go 28 miles per hour with ease. So
I
it's
would just
kind of
add, so this motor, it's Orbea is unique. That we're going to start seeing some of these motors on urban bikes soon, but I think this is probably one of the first bikes. There's a few recent molars that have it, that have this drive system, and the torque, the 100 Newton meters of torque is a big deal. It really flies. It's super fun, especially in the highest assist levels, and it is tunable. But even I would say even more than that, like they have. I talked to Bosch about this motor when I went to Eurobike, and why we couldn't have higher torque on previous generation motors. And they said basically the inside of this latest fifth generation Bosch engine is different, and you can feel it when you ride it, and you can also. And one of the most noticeable things that you notice is the silence of it. So even though it's metal gears, it's extremely quiet. So everything, and it's even. I mean, who would have thought that Bosch could be smoother assist than previous generations, but you feel it on this bike.
Yeah. I came from when I first rode Bosch. The first time I really rode the Bosch stuff was, I guess, in 24. I rode it on an old Trek Super Commuter or something like that. It was like a big red urban bike that we had at my last job, and we all loved it. But when I started riding the latest greatest Performance CX, the thing that really blew me away was not so much the torque, although that was a major improvement, but the sensitivity. So there's modes on this bike that are when it senses the power that you're applying, it has a way of delivering that power so smoothly, like exactly what I'm looking for. So from an off-road perspective, like if you're looking at this picture that we had up on the screen here, like this person's riding the bike through a bunch of loose rocks and it's bumpy. If you have a full boost setup from another company, you're probably going to be spinning your tires a lot. And the Bosch, especially in these certain tuning modes that they have, it's like e-touring or EMTB plus. It just takes what you're putting in and gives you exactly what you need so intuitively. So when you're climbing something tech, you don't lose traction. Your wheels on the ground the whole time, and it's night and day from what I was used to. Next slide. We talk about batteries here. So this bike has, we have two options. So in North America, we're offering two build kits, and the lower end build kit comes with the 600 watt hour battery and the higher end kit comes with the 750. These are both using our secure battery system, which is not removable. If you want to pull the drive unit, it's removable, but it's not something you're going to take out on a day-to-day basis. There's no keys, there's no springs, there's no latches, there's no moving parts. The battery is slid into the down tube of the bicycle and is bolted in there, and then it's connected to your drive unit. So that's why when you look at this bike, it doesn't look like it has, a bolt-on battery. It looks like it has smooth, beautiful lines, polished welds. It looks a lot like carbon fiber. And the reason we can do that is we've got the battery in the down tube, and we're not worried about it coming out. We want it to stay there. If you want more power, more range rather, Bosch has the Power More 250, which with the 750 battery would get you up to 1,000 watt hours, wouldn't it? Yeah, yeah. And so 600 battery, you'd be getting to 850, and 750 battery, you'd be getting to 1,000. The range extender is essentially an external battery pack that you can add or remove whenever you want. It goes into your water bottle cage. So it bolts onto the down tube of the bike where a water bottle might bolt to, plugs into the drive unit where a charger would go in, and it adds that extra battery power.
The other thing about this secure battery system, I mean, we ask people. There are people who need to be able to remove a battery for one reason or another, like apartment dwellers maybe, but it's not as often as you think, and most of customers don't actually ever remove the battery, in our experience. And the benefit of it is that the frame is by not having to break the frame is a lot lighter weight. So the weight benefit of not having a removable battery is huge. The aesthetics and the weight. So um, yeah, I think that's an important point as
Agreed.
well.
Yeah, what you have to do, the thing about removable batteries, like, and coming from the mountain bike side, like it's kind of it was a cool thought. I think early on with mountain bikes, we all thought that we were going to be swapping batteries and doing these huge days and like carrying an extra battery in our backpack, and it was going to be this thing you had to have a swappable battery. Um, no one does that because the batteries get you high enough and long enough to where once you're done with one, your normal bike rider is pretty much done with riding. And then there's range extenders on top of that, so you can always extend your range with that. But the other part about those removable batteries is that if you want to have a battery in your down tube and you want to have it be able to come out, you have to overbuild your down tube massively, and so your down tube becomes a lot bigger in size. You have to, think of a tube structure as one of the most structurally strongest, um, you know, uh, configurations in the world is a tube. But when you take a big hole in it, it needs to be bolstered and buttressed. So then that's why we have these huge looking down tubes on these bikes, because we're factoring for that big hole in it where the battery's going to go. Add a couple of instances where the batteries fall out, and pretty soon you just want to have your battery secured in your down tube with no hole in there. Just have it in there. Next slide, we got display. So this is fun. The wording on this is a little odd because it says the clear and simple Bosch display shows assistance levels. That is not the Bosch display. That is someone's phone that's tied into the Bosch bike, which is something you can do on the Bosch Flow app. It's hiding the display, which is a pretty tidy little display behind there. So it goes next to the stem. I'd say that the screen is about an inch and a half or an inch and a quarter wide and 3/4 tall, and it shows you everything you need to know in color. It shows you what mode you're in, what assist level, how much battery you have left, how far you've gone, how fast you're going, pretty much anything you want to do. It shows it on that little display. If you would rather have your phone showing that information, you could take that display off, sync your phone every time you rode your bike, and do that way.
Yeah,
The wonderful thing about the phone is you have nav on it. Like exploring a new town with an e-bike and having it with a phone on your handlebar is just the best. Like, it's such a good way to get around.
one thing that's cool that I'll add, well, a couple things. One is all the Orbea bikes have an SP Connect mounting point on the stem. So you're not using, in this instance, you don't use Bosch's phone mount. You use the SP Connect. And so that's a universal mount that you can get cases for, and we sell those. We also sell the stickers that you can just stick on your existing case. Um, and the nice thing about the Bosch smartphone mount is it has a charging built in. But the cool thing that Orbea has done is they built the USB-C port into the stem. So I'll annotate here. Right here is a charge port, and you just basically plug your battery in, and that is easy and simple. And I think that whole concept of having a really minimalist display, which is what you kind of want for most of like my everyday commuting, I'm not looking at a display. I want it to be slick and out of the way and not gonna break. And then, on the, you know, when you're going on an adventure, you just click your phone in there, and then it is your display. And even if you don't use the navigation, your phone can be your best display ever. With the Bosch app, it works great, but it is, as you can see here, really nice for mapping.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing in the mountain bike world, I don't put a phone on my handlebars because it's big, it's going to fall off. It's just kind of it's a thing. But I can't tell you how often I'm pulling out my phone to look at a map, trail forks, and trying to route myself. And so, on the urban side, it is just so nice to have that plugged in and set your route and just go for a cruise and not have to worry about mapping. Yeah, it's great. So moving on. Oh yeah, quick fix. So this is about reliability and sort of instead of it says reliability here, I think it's more usability. All the features you can get on this bike. It uses the mix system, so there's a ton of accessories available that snap right onto the rack that's on this bike already. The rack is cool. It's built into the fender, and the fender is steel. So the fender is actually a structural item and has a support going up from the front, and the rack is sort of cantilevered there with just that one support, and it holds it all really nicely. My favorite piece of equipment that you can get for this is the Ortlieb bags. They're waterproof and they are durable and they are super user friendly, and I just love them. The rear cargo would be suspended, so it's on the rear wheel, which means it would be hitting the bumps just like the wheel would, where the front cargo, that basket there, is mounted on the frame itself. So everything in that basket is getting the same smooth ride that you are being suspended, which is pretty cool.
Rack is will fit a child seat. So we have MIK child seats from Thule Yep, and those will click right in. So it's not what the bike is, it's not the primary idea probably when they design this bike, but it is a nice thing that, if up to probably 5, 6, you can have it under 60 pounds, you can have a child in the child seat on this bike. And the Ortlieb bags, we stock the ones that work the great with all of Orbea's systems is the QL3 mounting system, and we stock a selection of bags, and we can also special order more. But basically, most of Ortlieb's bags come in either QL2 or QL3, and the QL3 fit perfect on the system that's built into this bike.
Yeah. Um,
We
Next
talk about
slide. One of my
it.
favorites.
Yeah.
Frame. We haven't really talked about this because it's an urban bike. If it is pretty rare to see a full suspension urban bike, especially one with the shock obscured like this. It's essentially a link-driven single pivot. So you got a single pivot here above the drive unit. When you hit a bump with the axle, the chain stay comes up and pushing the seat stay, and the seat stay pushes this link, which then pushes the shock through its travel. So very basic, very easy to set up, very easy to maintain. The shock is, of course, an air shock, so you're adjusting that to get sag. So you're looking for 20%, 25% sag on this bike, just to take that initial edge of those bumps off. And then it's got that little blue knob there on the shock is a lockout. So if you really wanted the bike to be firmed up, if you didn't want that cushy, that cushy plush feel, you can flip that little lockout and it'll firm that shock up. You would use that. I mean, I wouldn't use that personally, but I could see someone using that if you're going up one of those huge steep hills in San Francisco or something, maybe where like the hill is just ridiculously steep, there's no bumps on it, and you don't want the bike moving at all. Maybe you would use that, but it being an e-bike, I would just set it and forget it.
Well, it is a good point, though, I think, in that I think the nice thing about all the Orbea bikes and all the bikes that we carry, really, but like they're bikes first and foremost, and you can ride them without power, especially the
Yeah.
lightweight ones like these. Like you can ride this with low power or even no power.
Mhm.
And it's just, and now with the latest drive systems, I mean, it's there's no drag from the motor, so it's like it's a little heavier than a normal bike, but probably the same as a bike, I don't know, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not a big difference. So that's where like locking, like all of this standard bike componentry where you can lock out suspension and stuff like that does make more of a difference because if you're looking for a little bit more of an active experience on the bike and you want to put some more energy in, you can totally do that. And then you lock out this like the suspension when you don't need it. Like I did a really long ride once on my other full suspension, my recent Muller full suspension bike in down in Catalina, and I did it so long that the ride was so long, and I used too much power getting there, so I basically had no power coming back. So I had to ride like basically no power the whole way back, and that's locking the suspension was very handy at that point.
Yeah. That's steep. That's steep terrain too. Um, yeah, light and tough alloy frame. I thought it was carbon when we first. I often think this with Orbeas because of the smooth welds. Like they go in the aluminum factories, they take great pains and at considerable cost to smooth the welds. So this is welding a frame together and then grinding and filing and polishing that weld down so we have smooth radiuses and all these junctions. And it's just a really beautiful bike. It looks seamless, which is nice. And then of course you're seeing the see-through view there with all the cable routing and all the things that you would need battery in the down tube. Cables are coming down. You're not seeing these here, but cables are coming down through the handlebar, through the stab, down into the down tube to the motor. Cables are coming down through here and up the seat tube to the dropper post, and cables are going backwards to the derailleur and the brakes, and it's all concealed. There's not an exposed cable on the bike. It's all out of sight, out of mind, no maintenance, and just it's just it's there. It's a very utilitarian, smooth look. Next slide, we got safety built in. This is about just the bits and bobs of the bike that make it a bit more safe to ride. I think the overarching topic here, though, is that it's long and it's low and it's soft and it's powerful and it I cannot express that this is a bike that you probably need to ride to understand, because I didn't understand it until I rode it, but it feels like a very safe and comfortable, confident bike. I think it's just how long it is and how much wheel is out in front of you and how just upright. It's a really robust feeling bike.
Um,
We'll move on to go ahead.
oh,
Yeah.
Nadine, you want to add that? Oh, you say it. We haven't heard from you
I
enough.
think she's on. There she goes.
There.
I finally managed to unmute myself. I was trying to, and I was like trying, and I was waving, and I was like, everybody's really gross because Garen has that really serene, calm, confident presentation voice that he uses from years of webinar and podcast experience. But basically, the thing to know about our aluminium frames, and I do pronounce it that way because that's how it's spelled where I come from. It's not a different product, are hydroformed. And our aluminium factory, our bikes are made in Portugal. So they are European made. And then they are painted and assembled in our factory in Mayabia in Spain. And I always like to add that because it's important information. It explains why our welds don't look like welds and why our aluminium frames look like carbon frames. And it is that hydroforming process
And
that
why
is
the paint's so good too.
correct. Yes, they're all hand
Color.
painted. Anything full suspension is hand painted in our factory. It's not even machine painted. There is actually a person on the other end of that spray gun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. One thing I want to add on the safety front, since we're talking about it, is what they call out here is theft protection. So Orbea on a lot of their bikes has the AirTag mounts that are built in, but on the Bosch's Connect module is really good. It's their basically a GPS unit that has its own power. So even if the battery runs out of power, it's still signaling if it's lost. Um, and it's design this bike is designed to fit that Connect module. So you can add that. That's an option. It's a little unit that we install. You get a year subscription with Bosch, and then after that, I think it's like $30 a year. Um, but the way it works is the best anti-theft sort of integration that we've come across yet, where you pair it with your phone. If you walk away, the bike locks. The bike gets moved, you get an alert. You can see where your bike is. You can track it. You can send the coordinates. It has an alarm built in, so it's making a lot of noise. So it's just this extra level of peace of mind because that's how it should be. You shouldn't have to think about any of this security stuff. You should just be able to park
Yep.
it like you park a car and walk away and feel good. And that's possible now.
Yeah, that's cool. Lighting, we talked about this a little bit, but we have this is sort of that illustration of that 270-degree visibility on the front light, built-in tail light on the fender. They come on automatically. You can adjust all of this stuff and you can make it not come on or come on how you like it. But one of the things that maybe me being a little newer to these like newer premium urban bikes is that God, it's nice not to have to charge a battery and like take a light with me and put it on the handlebar of the bicycle and then make sure that one of my little blinkies didn't get stolen when I was out front of the record store or whatever. It's just so nice that it's integrated, and it's always there. So you always have that safety aspect. Moving down, we've got components you can count on. So yeah, these are Orbea is a big, gigantic bike company. One of the things we do best and we're really, really known for is mountain bikes. And you're seeing that carry over into this urban side. That's a Fox Owl fork. That's a brand name, like aftermarket fork that people put on mountain bikes. The tires are Schwalbe Johnny Watts long range. They're big, they're wide, they have very aggressive casing, and they have reflective sidewalls. And they're just confident. They go fast on the road. They're not a big, slow, soft tire, but they're very wide and they're very confidence inspiring. And of
They
course, the
last a
brakes.
long time, Garen, too. I have those on my bike on urban, and I think where I'm at like 4,500 miles, and they still haven't.
Damn,
Yeah, I don't
Red
break.
rides won't let you. That's for sure. Uh, oh, and actually, there's a good little image there in the corner, upper right hand corner of the display that comes on these. That's the sort of discrete little Bosch display that you can use if you don't want to pair your phone every time you ride. But yeah, big disc brakes, like big, even the feel, like when you ride this, like again, I keep referring to mountain bikes because that's sort of really what I know, but the levers on this are like, it feels almost like heavy duty, like motorcycles, big, long levers. There's no missing those things. They're not short. They're not trying to be lightweight. They're big, they're strong, and they have big rotors, and the bike can just stop on a dime. Moving on, we got some lock options. These are, the Bosch Flow app and the tracker are the main things. The Muga has two mounts. One you see here being illustrated with the down tube. There's also one, you can see it in this picture, on the underside of the top tube. And you can mount whatever you want on those water bottles, any number of accessories that are out there. But yeah, I mean, if it were me, I'd probably have to get that tracker, because then you could just, you can walk away. It automatically just decouples your bike from your phone, meaning it can't be turned on. So if you have it like just sitting in front of a coffee shop, you're really not worried about it. And if it goes somewhere, you can track it. All right, moving on. Models, two models, a pretty basic offering actually, which is cool. The Muga 20 is the nicer one. The higher the number, the more premium the product. Bigger battery. So the biggest thing with the Muga 20 is it's got the 750 watt hour battery. The Muga 30 has the 600 watt hour battery. It's a bit nicer aftermarket part. So the fork's nicer. A really big one is that it has the Shimano Q's Di2 electronic gears. This is really sweet. So the derailleur talks wirelessly to the shifter. Um, Instead of it being a cable, like a mechanical cable sliding through a housing actuated by a shifter, it's electronic. So you're sending a signal from the shifter back there. Well, that be two things on that though. One, it's powered by the bike, so you don't have to charge a separate battery. That's one of the downfalls of having these newfangled wireless drivetrain systems we have on the high end mountain bikes. A lot of them have another battery to charge, and it's just like, God, if you're not careful, you have a battery on your seat post and a battery on your rear derailleur, and sometimes you have a battery on your shock, and now you have three batteries for a bike that doesn't even have a motor. This bike has one battery that charges everything on the bike. The other really cool thing about the Di2 is that you can put auto shift on it, so you can configure this to talk to the motor, and depending on your cadence or the power that you're putting down, or depending on the assist mode that you're using, it'll just shift for you. Brett was using it last time we rode together in Boulder, and I don't have experience with it. Brett, what's it like?
I'll tell you a little story here, which is when I went to Eurobike, I met with the product manager or the lead product guy at Bosch, and I was telling him, the biggest issue still is is the drivetrain, how the bike operates. And we have a lot of riders who are on their demo, we want to make sure they have an amazing first experience. No questions asked, like this was amazing. But shifting is one of those things that you do when you own the bike for a while, you learn how to do it. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just put people on bikes and they could just it automatically got them to the right gear no matter what. And he said, my opinion, like the best auto shifting system out there now is what we've worked with Shimano on the Di2. He said you should go out to the show and ride it. And so I did, and I was blown away, but it wasn't San Francisco hills, so I'm like, how is this going to work? Well, so then I tried it in Colorado, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like you just literally get on the bike, set an assist level, and start, and the bike automatically gets you to the right cadence. It's not jarring. A derailleur actually is one of the best versions of auto shift because there's no clutch inside, so you can shift. It can shift under a little bit of load, and it doesn't cause any problems. Um, and then and it's like seamless. And then as you're coasting and you go down in speed, you can hear the motor moving to shift you to a lower gear. So when you start up again, it's doing things even when you're just coasting. But then when I brought this, we just got our demo bike all built up in San Francisco, and I rode it around the hills in Bernal, which is notoriously steep and really, you get out the store and you're going up a steep hill, and it's just as perfect. So it is, from a test riding perspective, it's game changer. I think a lot of riders will end up using it for their daily riding. I'm not one to use auto shift typically, but I would use this.
Yeah, that's a good point. And some people may not know it's with these typical drive systems, like with the derailleur, you have to be pedaling to shift. So the hurdle for an auto shift is that you can't do an auto shift really on a muscle bike without an e-bike, because it would only be waiting to shift for every time you pedaled, and then when you pedaled, that's when kind of like you would want the shifting to be done before you really needed it. So say you're cruising, and all of a sudden your speed just shuts down because you're still coasting, but like the bike knows that you're going up a big hill. Now with the e-bike drive systems and Shimano talking to Bosch can pedal for you. Your feet aren't moving, but the motor's moving. So it's able to shift the bike through its gears to get
Yeah.
ready for you to lay on the throttle when you start pedaling. Pretty
It's
incredible.
really cool. And I think the cool thing about this bike in general is just like it's like the best of both worlds. Like it's an incredible, like capable full suspension bike. Um, that's like the best regular bike you've ever ridden, even if it's not even not taking away the e-bike side. Like it's light, it's easy to pedal. You can use it as an active and a fitness bike because it's not heavy. It's super light and nimble. But then it's like this ultimate, vehicle bike that you can get on. You can get someone who hasn't ridden a bike in 20 years, and they can get on there and be confident and comfortable and climb any hill without even needing to know how to shift. So It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and so the Muga 30,000 bucks cheaper, smaller battery, a Suntour Mobi fork, and mechanical derailleur. So same Shimano stuff, actuated by a cable running through a housing, going back there with a shifter. Both really incredible bikes, and the one thing that stuck out to me here is that it's whichever one you choose, it's the same frame, the same wheels, the same rear shock, the same cranks, the same brakes. Most of the stuff here is the same dropper post, same tires. It's just that the Muga 20 just gets a little bit upgraded with a bit more range, and a bit better fork. And I think the biggest one there is that Q's Di2. Then and a quick chat on range, like 600 watt hour battery versus 750. This is always a topic on e-bikes. A 600 watt hour battery is what I have in my mountain e-bike that I sometimes ride here, and I can do 5,000 feet of climbing like without really. By the end of the day, the battery's on its last, say, 20%, but 5,000 feet without any anxiety, And for that on a Muga would be like to try to get 5,000 feet in a day in San Francisco City would be pretty impressive. You could probably do it, but there's a lot of range in that 600 watt hour battery. Of course, a bit more in the 750. I think when it comes to urban bikes, the beauty of the longer range isn't necessarily that you're going for this huge ride. It's that you may need to charge the bike with just a little bit less frequency. So like, if you wake up in the morning and you're just going down to work, but your bike has 20%, you can go, I think I can get there. And your bike, you don't have to fully maybe charge it every single time. Whereas with the smaller batteries, you got to think about that a little harder.
You can, one thing to note is you can upgrade if you wanted the 30, you could upgrade the battery. We can order it with the bigger battery. So you don't have to go up to the 20 to get the bigger battery. I will say with a 28 mile per hour bike, it costs 265 to upgrade to the 750 watt hour battery. So and with the 28
28
mile
mile
per
per
hour
hour bike.
bike, you use power more. So all I can say, my current full suspension bike is 625 watt hour Bosch battery, and it's fine for around the city. But when you ride, if you want to go on longer rides, at speed with power, you're more power, you're gonna like the 750 watt hour. Um, the other thing I will just say is if you can swing it, the Muga 20 is totally worth it. And Orbea's price point on these bikes is incredible. Like it's really a lot of bike for the money. On both the 20 and the 30.
Yeah, I mean, some of the prices out there on some of the competitor stuff, I don't need to go into it, but I was like, whoa, okay, twice as much. Hmm.
The
But
one other thing I'll just say is the Q's drivetrain. Last thing on spec is it's a Shimano drivetrain that's designed for e-bikes, and it we've seen it on bikes now starting maybe 3 years ago. And it is like game changer for e-bikes because it basically has the benefits of a lightweight system. But the drawback of a chain used to be that it didn't last very long. So you'd have to replace the chain on an e-bike pretty often because of the way that shifting happened. It just stressed the chain. And even if you were really good about it and lubricated, it would not last all that long. With Q's, Shimano specifically designed it to last 2 to 3 times longer than a standard chain, and it's true, it does, and that means you don't have to replace your chains as often. The only thing you have to do, like a drivetrain, like to keep it really running nicely, is just lubricate it every once in a while, or bring it into the shop, and we can do that.
yeah. All right, so moving on to colors, we're almost through. So this color that you see there is, whoops,
Oh, I got it.
that is
This is the
yeah, blue
what do they
stone,
what do they
blue
call
stone, diamond black, or you've got a
it?
sort of
Ivory.
ivory white and black gloss, and then finally you've got metallic rust, something a little more darker, a little more low key. And
Our demo bikes are all this color here.
cool. Brett, who do you think Can you guys hear that stomping? Do you guys hear that in my mic?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's a utter pandemonium upstairs. I don't know what's going on. I know there's a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old up there, but um, what do you think customers for this thing is? Like, what's your sort of your what do you think your typical Muga rider is?
Well, I am a big believer in this bike for a lot of reasons. Like when I tried it, I didn't get to try it when I went to Spain, but I saw it and I saw the spec and I know full suspension bikes because I ride one and I know how, in an ideal world, most people I think would benefit from full suspension. There's drawbacks sometimes in terms of weight. This one doesn't have those drawbacks in the same way. I think what it's going to end up being, and it already is going this way because we've now had this bike on the floor. We put it on the floor, built up the demo bikes last Thursday, and we and my suspicion was what was going to happen is people were going to try like they were going to test ride all these different other bikes, and we have bikes, starting at $1,700 and then going up, and a lot of the bikes that we sell for urban commuting is between $3,000 and $4,000. And people really like that. And what I suspected was going to happen is people then would, we want people to have fun test riding things. That's what it's all about. Just try things. You don't want to hem yourself in. You want to try what's out there. And people were going to go and try the Muga, and they were going to be like, that is a meaningful upgrade. And it's not a huge jump. It is a jump. It's a premium bike, but it's not if you're using it regularly, and it's right in line with what you would spend with like a nice mountain bike and things like this. And I thought, you know what, a lot of people are going to they're going to see the value, they're going to try it, they're going to love it, and they're buy it. And sure enough, we got the bike out on Thursday. I don't think I've told you this story yet.
Hmm.
So the bike was built up in Marin on Thursday. The first test rider rode it and bought it. Then
Wow.
they built the bike up same day in San Francisco. First test rider who rode it bought it.
Wow.
So we've sold in the last, well, now it's, it rained a couple days, but over the weekend, from Thursday to Sunday, we sold 4 bikes. It had yeah, 4 bikes and 4 sales, Nadine. Yeah, I'm
Wow.
telling you, like, this is like a huge, if you want to come back on video, you're welcome to, Nadine, because I think this is uh, you know, testament to this
I don't
bike.
know why it won't let me back on video.
Yeah. Well, here
Maybe
I can
decided
help.
on the ugly ducking for the
Here,
day.
let me help. Uh, okay, try it now.
It could have been the chaos in the background with my dogs.
There we
They,
go.
yeah, I moved so that they couldn't create the chaos they were creating before. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think this bike kind of took us all a little bit by surprise. And if I'm 100% honest, it was me that made the decision initially not to bring this bike into the US because I had kind of had a look at, to be 100% honest, I'd looked at the Trek Powerfly FS, which is their full suspension, fully equipped full suspension bike. I'd looked at the Specialized Tero, which I believe is their fully equipped specialized version, similar bike. And the shops weren't really doing super well with them. And I kind of thought it was going to be very similar to those. And we were just going to do our own version of the same bike. Um, but I was wrong.
They weren't doing super well, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought this bike would kind of fall into that same space. And I didn't want to bring something in that was going to sit on shop floors and dealers were not going to have much success with. But I was wrong. I hadn't ridden it. I hadn't physically seen the bike. I hadn't like truly tried it. And we as a brand have adopted this slogan pretty recently in our urban mobility program, try it to decide. Because what we've learned is when people ride these bikes and they put them side by side and you get onto an Orbea and you go and you take it for a ride, you come back and you go, oh, I didn't realize I needed this bike, but I need this bike in my life. And so, that's what's happened to all of us with it. And then having a 28-mile-an-hour option for the US market specifically, with the commuting and the lifestyle and the people who are choosing to use them, it kind of hits a couple of check marks. It doesn't have a super upright posture and it doesn't have a super low step over feature, but the weight compensates for it. So you can actually lean the bike quite far over because it's light, put your leg over and then straighten the bike up to give you that extra standover. The one thing that Orbea does is they design a really good bike. They put in a lot of cool technology and then they go, oh, how can we make this lighter and more fun? Our build quality is definitely rider centric and ride quality focused. And I think those are two important terms that explain the philosophy behind what we build. And John Ander, our product development manager in this segment, is really passionate about what he does. And it shows.
Yeah, totally. You can totally tell. Like the point of view.
Yes, definitely. It shows. I guess I'm curious to know the people that we have here, Bob, Kathy, Al, Mark, what made you guys all interested in this particular chat about Muga? I'd love to hear if possible.
Yeah, let me see.
Make that happen, Brett.
Yeah, I can make that happen. And you don't have to let's see. One moment. Unmute themselves. Yeah, you can unmute yourself now if you want.
No pressure.
No
Yeah, no
pressure.
pressure. But I mean, it's always intriguing for us as a bicycle manufacturer and a designer manufacturer to understand, what intrigues the consumer with regard to this product. So yeah, we'd love to hear your point of view and truly no pressure.
And we'll
I'm not.
also, oh yeah,
I'm not a. I'm not a consumer. I work for another e-bike brand. So it was basically just competitive analysis, but beautiful, beautiful bike, great presentation. Yeah, it's the auto shifting is what's most intriguing to me.
Bob, what brand do you work for?
I work for Gazelle.
Okay.
Come on, Bob. Come on, dude. Do I know you?
Yeah, it's Bobby Napoli. I don't know why I'm
Oh
on the
yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
Bobby
Actually, he was at
Napoli.
we were hanging out last at New Wheel at one of those
Yeah,
demos.
yeah. But yeah, the bike looks awesome. I mean, the spec and the build, yeah, it's I think it's kind of a category killer. It does everything.
Yeah. I was actually like I said, I was caught off guard by how cool it was. I think the customer is like I think it's going to take some development. I think people are going to have to ride it to figure out what it's all about. But when I think of like mountain towns, people who live in places like you use a bad example is like Aspen or whatever, but people
I
who
think of
have
Jackson Hole. That's what
yeah,
I think of. Jackson,
yeah,
Wyoming. Like for me, this is a perfect bike for that part of the world because it's going to be able to put a studded snow tire on it in the winter. It has the clearance, it has the capability, it has the range. It's a super fun bike to ride, right?
yeah.
And then we have pretty good e-bike rebates in that town that would make
Mixed
that
and
20.
mixed people with mixed surfaces and access to wild places. Like I mean, it would be incredible like in the city, but like think of San Francisco. You zip across the bridge and you're in the headlands, and then there's endless fire roading, and but getting there and back is so easy on a bike
yeah.
like this. Whereas like it's pretty rough on a pedal bike to ride up in there, and you got to be committed to ride up in there. And then on a more traditional urban e-bike, once you're fine getting across the bridge, but once you get in that zone, you're going to be like, well, this is kind of aggressive now that I'm on this skinny, tired, unsuspended bike. It's pretty sketchy to ride in that terrain. So like, I just think of like here in Bellingham where I live, it's like endless outroads to go and like, I mean, I don't know, go fishing or whatever. Just jump on the bike and go. Not worry about where you're going so much.
Yeah, it's a fun bike.
It is all about test riding. Like, so that's the thing is like that's why we've had success so far. Because I mean, I think that's in general where this bike comes in. Like, if you look, a lot of these bikes, like a normal customer looks at it and they just see a price tag and they say, "Oh, it looks cool," but it's easy to write things off when you just look at it in like a cool looking. Well, it's easy to write it off if it doesn't look that cool, and it's expensive. But if it looks cool and it's just a price tag, you don't get it really. So I think why we've had success so far is like the people who came in, they did not come in to buy that bike. That's the crazy thing. Like And the anecdote I got from the woman up in Marin who bought it is she just came in and it was the first bike she tried, and when she rode it, she's like, "Oh, this is obviously the Bright bike." So it wasn't even there was no like so it was just obvious. So I and that was my experience with it too. It's like it is once you ride it, you're like, oh yeah, as long as you've got the budget for it. And if you don't have the budget, that's fine. We have bikes that are all of it. Like it's fine. It's like it is a premium bike, um, but it is an accessible. I would say it's a pretty accessible premium bike if you want a bike for fun, but also if you can the value's there if you're using it regularly. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think, if you generally like to have a more performance-oriented bike as your analog bike or the bike that you ride for fun, to then have this bike be your utility bike, it just feels right? You still have all the things you love about riding, but then you have the motor and the range and the all the features that make it rideable day
Yeah.
or night, cross terrains for work. And it makes sure, we have some guys who work near where I live in at Lockheed Martin, and there is single track you could take to go over there, or there is a paved trail. And it would just make the single track more of your morning commute to work and your ride home. And we all love the endorphins we get from having fun in the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to be honest. When I first saw it, I didn't even realize that it was full suspension. So I think that's a testament to your design team on how well they did that. And then you hear the travel on the front and the rear. Yeah, it's a pretty impressive looking bike, no doubt.
Yeah.
I was watching Garen wheelie it down the main road in Gun Barrel when he came over and rode it for the first time, which just made me feel really inadequate because I can't wheelie anything and he can do it on anything, clearly. So,
Well, it's an e-bike,
Yeah, I can almost wheelie it on an e-bike. Almost. Um, well, cool. Well, I guess that pretty much covers it. We didn't really dive in. I mean, we talked a little bit about Orbea. We've talked about it before, but I think that it's important to note, as Nadine did, that this bike is made in Spain. It's the frame's made in Portugal. It's painted.
and
It's painted
assembled
in
in
the factory.
Spain.
Is
Yep.
it painted in the factory? Yeah.
Yeah, it's painted and assembled in Spain, and then it's flown to dealers as they're ready, right? As soon as they come off the assembly line, it gets packed up and then it catches a plane and it lands with you after customs clearance, which is a little bit of a challenge at the moment with the tariffs and maybe causing some undue delays. But in general, it's pretty quick from the production line to you. And of course, we make each bike to order. So, we don't have a bunch of these sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
And the good news is we have a number of these bikes on their way and some already here, um, and more coming. And as folks come in and ride, we will meet the demand with more bikes.
Yes.
Let's hope that, yeah, I mean, hopefully they don't just come in and buy all your stock before anyone else can try them. Everyone,
No, no,
it's
we,
four for
we
four so
keep
far.
our
Four
demo.
for
No, we
demo
kept
rides.
we keep our demo bikes now.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you got to keep your demo bikes because otherwise you
Gotta
can't
keep our
sell
demo.
anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. We didn't sell the ones that when I said people bought it, they put
They
an
bought
order.
your inventory model. So you
Yeah.
had your
Got it.
4 demos, you did your 4 test rides, and then you sold your 4 inventory bikes, which
Yeah.
is great. Yeah.
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 Well, thank you so much for this. And yeah, thanks for everyone who watched now and in the future. Um, and we can send an email. You can do a comment on the YouTube. Um, and we'll see you down the road.